Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. It is 7 o'clock, and I am hoping lots of people are going to be coming in today because I have so much great information for you. So, before we get started, I just want to ask you to text Miss Jamie OT 684 to the number on the screen, 22333. I'm going to be asking some questions, and I want you to be able to answer me. Also, can you please also go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, because I want to be able to interact with you throughout the presentation. And when you make a comment or something, I can see it if you put your name. Well, I can say I can see your comment, but I want to see who you are and I want to see who's saying it. So go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Okay. So, wow, we've got 104 people already. I'm so excited that I started on time. I have a lot to say to you guys. I'm really excited to be here and to be presenting this conversation because it is important. So I want to start out by saying thank you so much to NYSOTA. Because of them, they have been so supportive throughout my whole career, really. But because of them, I'm able to offer this webinar to you all for free because they said this message is so important to get out there that they waived the fee for me to present this webinar. So I just really wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you so much. It's so important to belong to our state associations and also to interact with them and be a member, be active, be engaged, and get to know who the members of your state association are. So my state association is New York State OT Association, and I will be talking a little bit about some things tonight that are specific to New York because that's what my research is really based in. But so much of what I'm going to speak about tonight is applying to all states in the United States. There's actually only 4 states that are a little different, and I'll get more into that in a minute. But I also wanted to remind you, in order to get your free CEUs, the link is on the bottom. So I really advise everybody to go to that link and open up the Google form, and you can take the CEU as we go through the slides so that you don't miss any. You need to get a 70% or better in order to get your free CEUs. Please do allow about 24 hours to get your certificate because the Google Certifium that we're using, for some reason, they'll only send out 100 certificates at a time, and then they wait a little while and then they send some more. So don't worry if you don't get your certificate right away, but do please check your spam and your junk mail because that happens to me a lot. Things that are coming from the Miss Jamie OT email might get sent to your spam because it's considered a business account. So this is the link, again, that you're going to take the assessment. You're going to do that tonight. I just wanted to say, though, again, because NYSOTA is allowing me to present this to you free of charge, I'm able to let you guys have the CEUs for free, which is so exciting. I know so many OTs have been through such a rough year, and it's impacted your pay and your burnout and your stress. And I love to just give a gift to wonderful OTs who are out there working so hard. So go here to take your assessment. This webinar will be available for a full year, free of charge, with CEUs. So if you have a friend that might need CEUs, or if you don't have time to finish taking the webinar tonight, don't worry about it. You have a full year. We've got you. Okay, so let's go. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Jamie Spencer, and I have been a school-based occupational therapy practitioner for 20 years in Long Island, New York. I have my bachelor's in OT, and I went back and got my special education degree a few years after I graduated from occupational therapy school. I actually really wanted to be a school administrator, but when I started applying to programs, I wasn't able to get in, and that was because I was an OT. And that's kind of where it all started. So I'm going to have a lot to say to you guys, but I want to just remind you quickly that the live comments are going to show up on StreamYard. But if you don't go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, I won't be able to see your name. So I hope that you'll do that. Okay. Can you all just comment and let me know if you can see me and hear me okay? Okay, cool. Okay, great. Sorry. You know what? There's actually like a little bit of a delay, so I can't always tell if I'm talking to myself or not. And that's not a good thing, as we know. Okay, great. So, as I was saying, I got a little sidetracked there when I realized I had no comments. I got nervous. So, I have been an occupational therapy advocate since about 2004 or 2006. That again was when I realized that I wouldn't be able to be a school administrator. And I started to really look into why. I couldn't understand why can't an OT be an administrator when a speech therapist can, or a regular teacher can. It doesn't make any sense. A social worker can be a leader. Why not a school OT? And that's when I started to realize that there was a lot of trickle down effects to this. I'm also an adjunct research mentor at Touro College of Health Sciences. So I'm helping to do some research in the occupational therapy department. And it is about this topic about equality for occupational therapists and physical therapists as well. I'm also a blogger at MissJamieOT.com. Some of you might know me from there. My passion in life is to help people, and I love helping children, but I love helping the grown-ups that are helping the children, because I know that OTs, parents, we're all doing a million things and we love our kids and we want them to do well, but it's hard sometimes to come up with the resources that we need. So that is my passion in life, is to help grown-ups, to help kids. And another passion I would say is to help OTs to get the advocacy special things that they need. I'm seeing some people are saying having trouble getting into the site for the free CEUs. Let me just post that link one more time. Here's the link. So you should be able to access the quiz at this link right here. I checked it right before I went on. And also you could check your email, because I emailed anyone who registered and I put the link there as well. So I'm just going to go on a little bit, since I don't think everyone seems to be having issues about this. Okay, so the objectives that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to summarize how the structure of most state education departments in the US impact equity for school-based occupational therapy practitioners. And I want to say that although I'm gearing this presentations towards occupational therapy practitioners, because that's what I am, basically all of this information pertains to physical therapy practitioners as well. We are one and the same in many, many ways in the school system, and this information is really important for you guys too. We're going to be talking about unique opportunities for school-based occupational therapy practitioners to showcase leadership skills. We're going to also be talking about how to apply concepts for advocacy at the school-based level. We're going to get started with one question that will get everybody thinking. If you had the power to change one thing at your school, what would you do? So text the number at the top of the screen and tell me what your answer is. I'm so eager to hear what you all might say. So for the Facebook user who's saying did not register, very grateful, watching. Yep, just go to the link on, oh, look, you're right. My goodness. The link is supposed to be showing and it is not. Hold on 1 minute, guys. I'm sorry about that. It showed when I did it before the presentation, of course. Okay, here it is. 22333. And you're going to text Miss Jamie OT 684. I'm sorry about that, everyone. So you're going to, the person that you're texting is 22333, and you're going to text Miss Jamie OT 684 and tell me if you could change one thing, if you had the power to change something at your school, what would it be? Uh-oh, y'all. None of these comments are coming up. Not sure why that's happening. The last time that we did this presentation, it wasn't a problem at all. Well, it looks like something's going wrong with polls everywhere. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the comments that we've got going on in the chat box. Someone's saying they would like to have a therapy room. Someone would like to have a spot to leave their tools at. That's what I always say. We deserve a place where we can hang our hat. We shouldn't be bopping around from room to room, period by period, trying to find an empty room. Connie Perkins is saying that she's saying caseloads. Of course, we all know exactly what she means. She only had to say one word, and we know that she means that our caseloads are out of control. They're, oh, not sure what's happening. Okay, guys, I don't know why that happened. I'm sorry. But you know what? We're OTs. We roll with the punches. We'll just keep moving on. But I do want to have this conversation with you all. Respect. Someone saying respect. I would want respect, and that OTs to be case managers as well, and to be certificated staff. So this Facebook user sounds like that they may be from California, because that is the conversation, that is the language that they use, certificated. Different languages use, different states, use different terminology, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Someone else is saying treatment space, salary, the misconceptions that OTs are just handwriting teachers. Jenna, yes, this is a big one, and it impacts us in a lot of ways. Alexis is saying the caseload, an empty room where we can leave room. I think she means where we can leave stuff. We deserve to be able to leave stuff. Did you know that teachers, because of the union they're in, very often their contract has a stipulation that every single teacher gets a desk. So that doesn't matter if it's an integrated co-teaching room, both teachers must have a desk. Okay, someone else is saying caseload. Seems like caseloads is a big one. Suzanne is saying, I would like someone in my profession to do my observations instead of an educator. So Suzanne, you're a physical therapist. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm really excited that you're here. And I agree with you very much. I would like someone in my profession to do my observations instead of an educator. Oh, wait, hold on a minute. I've never been observed. So some people might say, awesome, who wants to be observed? And that's true. However, everybody else is getting observed. Why don't you want to make sure that the OTs are doing a good job? Why don't you want to see what I'm doing and make sure that I'm keeping up with evidence-based practice and all that other good stuff? They don't even bother. Shelby Marie says she wants to be respected. Someone else is saying, I would love a space that gives me some privacy for virtual sessions. Okay. A room to leave things, better follow through. I think you mean follow through with the teachers. Is that what you mean, Fun, in Colorado? Or do you mean with the parents? A lot of people are saying salary. And here's one, the way behavioral and mental health services are provided, because we are qualified to provide those services and we are educated in this. However, we are very often not used to do it. Shelly is saying she wants a room at every school and for teachers to understand earlier. The earlier we can get involved, the better. Absolutely. That is so, so true. less schools and less division. Facebook user, go to streamyard.com/Facebook so we can see who you are, because this is an amazing comment. Yes. How are we supposed to be a part of the community and socialize with the other staff and collaborate with the other staff and become a real true team member if we're barely ever there? If we're running out the door with our rolling backpack, going, how are we supposed to be a true team member? They're not setting us up for success, and it really, really needs to change. It will change. It's going to change. And this webinar right here is one little step in what we need to do in order to change. Teresa Bailey, step increases in salary. Yes, this is one of my biggest pet peeves. I have been fighting for this since 2004, and I will continue to fight for it until I retire. And I let my administrators know that, and they didn't seem to mind. I think they respect me for it, and that's okay. I will see you soon when I come back to ask again for what everyone else has. Someone else says they'd like a salary position like speech and BCBA get at my small private day school. So this is interesting because very often BCBAs are not treated equally either. So Angelina is saying that at her private school where she works, they are. So, well, let the OTs use their CEUs to move over on the pay school. Amen. It is so unfair. Writing to be taught in addition to reading and math. Yes. Oh my goodness. Handwriting. It's funny because we're not handwriting teachers, but we do feel strongly, goodness, these children can't write. And it's because it's not being focused on. Diane Fogel Bucci. Hey, Diane. She's saying less administration. Okay. Maybe more OTs on board and less administrators. Teachers to be educated more that we're not handwriting experts. Non-OT people thinking we are just playing with the kids. So fun in Colorado. I felt this way for a long time. And my tip for that is to tell everybody exactly what I'm doing. And I don't care if they think I'm too talkative or that I'm kind of a OT geek. I am. It's okay. But when I'm doing something in the hallway, like having a kid on a scooter going down the hall, inevitably people are like, oh, wow, that looks so fun. Can I go next? My turn, and they think they're being cute and they are thinking, oh, wow, that OT is just walking along, having a great old day, strolling down the hall with this poor kid. I always make some kind of a comment like, yes, and look how strong he's getting. His handwriting is going to be amazing or something. And I try not to say it about handwriting. I don't know why that just came out, but I do always try to say to everybody, it doesn't matter if it's a parent, the lunch lady, or another teacher, anybody. I always say, oh, this game look so fun? But meanwhile, we're working on everything. This game works on tracking, it works on scanning, it works on using two hands. And I don't really care if they absorb it or not. I do it every time because we do need for people to know that we're not just playing, that we know how to use play therapeutically, but we're not just having fun. We are actually brilliant in hiding work that these kids need to do. Wow. So Teresa's telling this story. Meanwhile, I was sitting on a rolling stool at a folding table. Wow. So I just want to let you all know that I am looking for stories. If you have a specific story of either a way that you advocated that was powerful and really made a difference, or some way that you were wronged and you want to tell your story, I really invite you to do that. And you do not have to use your name. You do not have to use any details. If you're uncomfortable, I am 100% pro OT and I back you 100%. So if you want to share your story with me privately, I will work with you to get the story out there without your name or any of the details in it if you're not comfortable with that. I tell my story and I say, this is what happened to me. And I work in Levittown, New York, which is a great school district. And everyone there is very lovely and very nice and kind to me and very good to me in many ways, but I am not treated equally and it isn't fair. And it's okay for me to say that. And until we all get comfortable saying things like that out loud, it's probably not going to change. So that's something that we all really need to work on within ourselves to be able to say, I don't want to be treated unfairly and I don't deserve to be treated unfairly. Robin Carey is saying she's getting observed next week in Kentucky. Well, awesome. I want to get observed. I would love to get observed. Patricia Horan, in the same league as speech, but not a civil servant. Yep. Also need more OTs in the district. She has a caseload of 45. Wow. If we are so torn with so many districts, we are not seen as part of the team. Absolutely, Tara. That is so, so true. I remember my first year as a school OT, I was in 6 different school districts as a contractor, and I was in 11 different buildings. I ate my sandwich in the car and I did my paperwork, at night, and it's not set up for success. Linda Bortoff. So look at this, you guys. We have some amazing things that we want to accomplish. And a lot of them aren't really, I should say, a lot of them are just asking to be treated fairly. A lot of them are just asking to be equal to our peers. Why are we inferior? Why is there a stigma of inferiority about OT and PT? It needs to change, and it needs to change from many levels. We have to attack it from the top down with the state education departments and the school administrators, but we have to attack it from the bottom up as well, because we are the ones who are working with the kids and we are the ones who are in the schools. And guess who becomes administrators? Teachers. And if we're in the schools training the teachers and teaching the teachers what we do and our value, then when they become an administrator, we have a much better chance of having their respect and having their value. Someone else is saying, we are observed by our leadership of OTPT who are therapists, feeling lucky. Yes, I think you are lucky, Facebook user, but today's your lucky day. Go to StreamYard.com/Facebook so I can see who you are, because these are some great comments and I want to know what your names are. Carol Kimmel, better pay for paras to get quality staff that we can carry over programs effectively. Yes, I know what you mean. They are not paid properly either. So, and they're not trained. What is the cutoff for other school systems? In our county, it is 27 years. I'm planning on working 7 more years with no increase in salary. So, Robin, I think you're referring to the different steps, and that depends on every state. I know in certain states, there's actually a place where you can go. I think it's called, what is it called? I used to go on it all the time, but it's some kind of like information site, like where nothing's hidden in New York. And I'm not explaining it well at all. I'm sorry. But I know there's a spot where the salaries are public. So you could see what the union contract actually looks like. Writing a curriculum and a salary. Okay. I also want to be in the teachers unions, currently lumped in with the custodians and secretaries. Me too. Same thing here. Pensions and benefits like school employees, also lunch. Yes. Wouldn't lunch be amazing? I have to say that I do have lunch right now, but in the past, when I first started, I didn't have lunch. Like I said, I ate lunch in the car. Parity for sure. I'm between 4 buildings with a caseload of 90. No reimbursement for travel, no reimbursement for continuing ed, working in the hallways. That is just so unacceptable. And meanwhile, how are you supposed to do a great job? How is that right by the children? Dr. Kaiser, 95% of our day with the students, that's just awful. And what it leads to is burnout for all of us. And that is not okay. We deserve better. We deserve better. Educators, especially in South Africa or South America. Rosetta, oh my goodness, I'm totally just blanking on where you're from. Is it South America? I know that. Yeah, what time is it for you? This is like the middle of the night again. You are so wonderful. To understand that we together can be made the success of a learner. It's true. Teamwork is just really huge. It's so important. So I'm glad that you guys have all of these amazing ideas. It's really just so true that there are a lot of things that need to be done. And I just bring this picture up because this is what my school picture looks like. This is what my staff picture looks like at school because I'm not in the teachers union. So everybody else has a red shirt and I don't. So we all know school leadership is in the hands of the administrators, but OTs and PTs are limited from becoming leaders in the school setting. And so for me, like I said, I'm the only one who's not in the red shirt, which makes me feel isolated. It makes me feel like I'm not included. And this is because in New York, where I'm from, and in many other states, I should say most other states, occupational and physical therapists aren't considered teachers. We're not considered part of the educational staff. So while the staff and the kids think of me as a teacher, technically I'm not. And there is a huge trickle down effect. So most school administrators don't even realize in my building that I'm not in the teachers union until I go and have a meeting with them and let them know that I'm not happy and that I feel that I deserve better. And I always do this in an extremely professional manner, and I present information to them so that I'm not just going there and complaining. I'm presenting facts and I'm approaching them as a professional to professional and explaining the situation that I'm in. Most of them are shocked. So as I said, when I went back to get my master's degree, I wanted to get it in school administration. And I started applying to different programs, and the responses weren't coming back. And I started to get a little nervous. And I'm a bit of an overachiever. So I kind of thought, oh my goodness, what if I don't actually get into a program? But then I started to get the responses. And the reason they weren't coming quickly is that the programs actually had to really think about what to say to me. They didn't even know what to do with me. But they sent me a letter that basically said, I couldn't take their coursework to be an educational administrator because I wasn't a teacher, and that my 3 years as a school OT didn't count. That's when I realized that there was a huge, huge barrier preventing me and so many other OTs and PTs from advancing from being a school therapist to being something higher. And I remembered complaining to one of my colleagues who's now my school principal. So back then it was just my buddy, my friend. And I was like, this is just really so crappy. And excuse my language, but it is crappy. It is not okay. It's so unfair. And I said to him, you know what? I can never be anything but a school OT. And he said to me, well, there's nothing wrong with that. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. And that is not how I mean it, but I could do more and I want to do more. So shouldn't I be allowed to do more? And yes, I should. I have all these great ideas for ways that we can help the kids and programs that we could implement, but I have to pass them on to someone else to put into place. So that buddy of mine is now my school principal, and he's wonderful, and he does know what I do, and he does value me, but he's not able to change the structure of the state education system to help me out so that I have what he has. And when this stuff happens, when all of your friends start to surpass you and become your boss, or the people that you've trained are now ahead of you, or the new person who just started makes more than you a year later, it's very easy to become cynical. And you can get frustrated at the slow pace of change, but you have to stop and ask yourself, how can I help? Because being cynical and sarcastic isn't productive. So people have said to me, why are you spending so much time on this? You're doing all of this for free. You have a family, you have a business, you work full time. Why are like, how much time do you spend on this? Almost as though I was a hamster on a wheel doing something that was, never going to get me anywhere. And I just disagree. It will get me somewhere because I care. I'm doing it because I care and because it's wrong and because I'm angry. But I have learned through the years firsthand, being angry is not productive. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. And nobody wants to listen to you when you're angry. But action is productive. We've got to change this, and we will change this. So I want to just summarize the structure of how most state education departments impact equity. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, and I'm going to give the example of New York again, because I know New York really, really well. But I want to talk about how it impacts equity for all of us. It took me years to understand this big picture, but it's really not that confusing. Before I go on, I'm just going to get back into those comments, and I want to let you all know my friend OT Kim Wiggins, the fabulous OT Kim Wiggins. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that that banner was still up there. Kim Wiggins said that the site that everyone is, that we were talking about before, the site where you can see everybody's salaries in New York anyway, is called See Through New York. So there may be see-through pages like that for other states. I'm really not sure, but it's worth looking into because you need the information. You can't go to your administrators and ask for something if you aren't educated about what you're asking for or educated about why it isn't fair. You need the facts. You need to know your information for sure. So that is one important thing. I'm just going to go on into talking about how the structure impacts equity. So the structure of your state education department, many of them have very, very similar characteristics, I should say, but they all have their own little tweaks. And I am gearing towards the US. Most states in the US have similar structures, but there are little differences here and there that we all need to be aware of. So it is important to be aware of your own state structure. It impacts how you're hired, your category or your classification. Like I was saying before, I am considered non-instructional, and someone else from California was saying that they want to be certificated. So the language is different, but it's kind of a similar meaning. The structure of your state education department impacts your opportunities for advancement within your school position. Like I said before, I wanted to be an administrator. I wanted to move up formally into a formal administrative position, but I can't because of the structure. It also impacts the union that you're placed in, if any, and the retirement system that you're in. And as a new grad, I think very often we don't even think about these things. We're just excited to be graduating. We've got a lot to do. And we're excited to get out there and make a difference. But when you're older, or even just a couple of years into it, you start really thinking about your future. And why don't OTs and PTs, why don't we all have a stable, secure future, a financial future, like everyone else who helps kids? So right now, there are 4 states in the United States: Washington, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Colorado. They have some type of pathway to leadership opportunities. Wisconsin is kind of on the border. Their website says that they have a pathway, but therapists from Wisconsin often report that that isn't true. So we're not positive about Wisconsin. But even these states who have this pathway do have issues of parity, and we'll be talking more about that going forward. I want to make sure that all of you know what educational credentialing is. There's a lot of interchangeable terminology. Educational credentialing is the same as having a teaching certificate. It basically means that you have the credentials of an educator from the state education department. In California, like I said before, they're considered certificated. In New York, we are considered pedagogical, meaning having the role of an educator in the school system. So it's interesting to me that we are not allowed to address medical issues, right? We're not allowed to address medical issues, but we're also not considered educators. So, they really can't have it both ways. It needs to be figured out. We've got to take a stand and say, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You cannot say that we're not allowed to treat medical things, but we have to treat educational and academic goals only, but then not give us the benefits that those staff members have. It's just not right. Carrie Baumgartner, where are you from? And Kim Dean Davis is letting me know that someone is saying Transparent California is the site in California where you can find out other people's salaries. Thank you so much, Kim. So as I said, the language pertaining to this may be a little different. You may hear educational credentialing, we need to be credentialed, we need to be considered pedagogical, we need to have a teaching certificate. It all means the same thing. It means that we are considered an educator and we are not in a separate category, or worse, no category at all. So this is an example of New York. The Office of Teaching Initiatives makes different categories. Pupil personnel includes school counselors, school psychologists, school social workers, and even other people like school dental hygiene teachers, school attendance teachers, and a school nurse teacher, which is different than a plain school nurse. There's something different about a school nurse teacher. Not really sure what that is. And I know for a fact that there really aren't a lot of them. So how did they make it into the pupil personnel category? That is something I would like to know. The other category where you can earn an educational credential is classroom teachers. And this pertains to any classroom teacher, as well as speech language pathologists and the teachers of the deaf and hard of hearing. They are all considered classroom teachers. And then finally, you can have a teaching certificate as a school administrator. So whether you're a principal or a school building leader, that's another teaching certificate that you can get. So in New York, in the Office of Teaching Initiatives, you can be considered an educator if you are in any of these three categories. So you'll notice OT and PT didn't make the list. Let's see who else didn't make the list. The staff members who are not educationally credentialed are these non-instructional staff, paraprofessionals, teachers' aides, bus drivers, school clerks, cafeteria workers, administrative assistants. The reason we call them non-instructional is because they do not teach the children. Paraprofessionals are not allowed to work on the children's goals. They are often not even given a copy of the child's IEPs. The teachers' aides and bus drivers, they don't know anything about the child's academic needs, and they certainly don't address them. And they do not have to have the education required to do their job, the education required to address the educational goals of those children. On the other hand, we have instructional staff like us, occupational therapy professionals, and physical therapy professionals. So it just really stands out to me when I put this slide up, how crazy it is. And this is very often why we are considered less than or inferior. And it's not to say in any way, shape, or form that these staff members are not important to the team, that these staff members aren't hardworking. They have a different role, and their role is not involved in the child's education. So that's why they're not educators. However, our role is to be educational. So that's what's really frustrating. And there's a lot of red tape and politics involved in these structures. Yeah, so Amy Marks is saying, I've been a program director and taught at a college level, but can't be considered a teacher. Amy, me too. I have a master's in special education, but I'm not a teacher. I'm not considered a teacher. I actually have very, very often taught classes for my teacher center, and the teachers who took my classes were able to get in-service credits, which allowed them to move up on the salary scale. By taking my class, because I taught them something, they were allowed to move up on the salary scale, but I do not have that option. So that's a little crazy. I mean, isn't that just crazy? It's really shocking sometimes when you really think about it, just the way it is, and that it's been this way for so very long. It's just time for change. Don't you guys agree? And I think the fact that you're all here means that you do agree, and I'm so very grateful that you're all here and that I have your support in this. So I'm going to move forward. This is a chart of the pathways to formal leadership positions, again, in New York. So there may be a lot of similarities to this picture and what's going on in your state, but this is the New York system. All of those other categories, pupil personnel or classroom teachers, they have to have one of those certificates first, and then they can take the coursework if they wish. Of course, that nobody has to take it if they don't want to be a school administrator, but if they're interested in it and they want to advance to this position, they take the coursework to become a school building leader, which is generally a school principal or an assistant principal. And then if they wish, they can get a different certificate, which is a school district leader. And that's often a director of a department or a superintendent. It depends what the person wants. But they all have the options to move forward if they wish. Again, OTs and PTs are not on the list. So looking at this picture breaks my heart sometimes. And I often wonder if OT students, people who are in the graduate programs to become an OT right now, if they have any idea that they're graduating with an equal degree and equal student loans and an equal amount, if not more credits than these other school professionals, but they don't have a ladder to climb if they want to work in the school setting. All of the other professionals have the opportunity if they desire. If they desire to move up the career ladder, they want to take the coursework to become credentialed as an educational administrator, they can. This also grants them the opportunity to create new programs, implement changes to benefit the kids, the staff, and the community. As they take the coursework, they move up in their salary schedule. But today, occupational and physical therapists do not have the opportunity to take this coursework. We are not allowed because we don't have a teaching certificate from the state education department, because we aren't educationally credentialed. We're not considered pedagogical. Again, all these terms are interchangeable. It means we're not permitted to take the coursework to become an educational administrator. So yes, it does impact our salary, but it also impacts everything else. It is literally the head pin in the bowling alley. The lead administrators in a school district, they have so many important decisions to make. They meet and they go over the needs of the kids, the staff, the community, the budgets. They have to find the areas of weakness and try to fill them. They have so many decisions to make about programs, curriculums, budgets. The admins might be former teachers, social workers, or psychologists. They're using their background and their training to do what they think is best for their schools. Right now, there is no occupational or physical therapy practitioner at that table. And this is an enormous disservice to the school. It impacts therapists in many ways, as well as the children. So there's no OT or PT to offer solutions that showcase our training and qualifications. We don't have the opportunity to contribute our opinions and our ideas, earning the respect of other school administrators. This impacts the way we are viewed and the way we are valued by school administrators. It impacts our parity with other school professionals. In a not so subtle way, we are considered, viewed, and treated as inferior to other school professionals. OTs are often contracted rather than being hired directly. They report that they're not included in the professional development meetings that the rest of the staff gets, including safety trainings, including technology trainings when there's a pandemic. We are separated from the rest of the professional staff, and it creates a stigma of inferiority. OTs in New York are retiring with significantly less benefits than the rest of the professional staff. Why? Because there are no OTs at the leadership table. That's why. There are no PTs at the leadership table. There's no OTs to say, hey, don't forget to give the OTs and the PTs a room. Let's hire our own staff. Why don't we include them in the collaboration meetings so they know what's going on? Let's give the therapists time in their schedule to collaborate with the teachers according to best practice. Let's treat the therapists fairly. All of the complaints that therapists have about inferiority or inequality would be challenged by an OT at the leadership table. So this is a big reason why this is my passion about getting an OTs into leadership, because all of the other things that aren't right would be knocked down if OTs were allowed to be in leadership. The other school leaders would learn more about occupational therapy and about our unique skills. They would learn about all the things that we know and all the unique skills we have. We have superpowers. I mean, we have an amazing knowledge base that they don't know about. I'm just sharing some of these comments here. So true. Gee, wouldn't that be smart for us to collaborate with teachers? Yes, Diane, that would be so fantastic if we had time, if we weren't running out the door and eating a sandwich in the car. So Jackie Fayette Proto says in Montgomery County, Maryland, anyone who's a teacher or therapist can be in leadership if desired. We need to take certain leadership coursework, which is offered through our professional development office. Jackie, Kim Dean Davis, my wonderful assistant, can you write her name down? Because I want to reach out to her and ask her some more questions about that. I did I'm not aware of Maryland having that kind of structure. So if that's true, I definitely want to know about that. Other ways that this impacts us. So again, school leadership impacts everything else: caseload, value, retirement, benefits, having a room to work in. But the US AOTs in the AOTA workforce salary report that 23% of OTs work in the schools, and a quarter of OTs report having a second job. So I don't know many teachers that have a second job or school psychologists that have a second job. Maybe they do, but I think almost every OT that I know does have a second job. And 16% of occupational therapists are considering leaving the field. I'm sorry, 16% of considering leaving, and 31% are considering leaving the field of occupational therapy. 21% of occupational therapists are dissatisfied with the profession. And the median salary, again, I put in New York because I'm able to compare it to, is $73,000 for an occupational therapist and $50,000 for an occupational therapy assistant. So, when you look at the cost of houses, the cost of gas, the cost of taxes, and the cost of milk, we should be making a fair salary. We do almost the same thing that they do. So these issues are not okay. It impacts us in so many ways. So I put this picture up. I don't know if you guys are going to know what I'm referring to, but I had to put it on there. I always say in my school district, and I said this to my superintendent, in my school district, if I was a teacher, I would be making $30,000 a year more than I make right now. $30,000. That is a car. So I put this picture of Oprah. Do any of you guys remember when Oprah did that show and she gave everybody in the show a car? Yeah, she went around and she said, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car to every single person in the audience. So I said to the superintendent, that's kind of what happens every single year in our school district. Everybody gets $30,000 except me because I'm facing this barrier where I can't have the car. Everybody else has a car except me. Everybody else has this gift except me. And it's very unfair. It's just not right. Do you guys remember that episode? It always really just strikes me. And that example, $30,000 a year, that is a house in 10 years. You know what I mean? That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And quite awful, if you ask me. I think it's just a terrible, terrible thing. And it's got to change. Who else does this impact? It impacts the rest of the state. I'm sorry, this is supposed to say state education system. So all of those other stakeholders who don't know what we do, it impacts them too. It impacts the rest of the future occupational therapy practitioners. They don't know what they're getting into. Most OT programs don't go into extreme detail about this problem. Future generations of teachers, they aren't being educated about what we do, and they're missing out on all of the wonderful things that having an OT as an administrator could put into place. And of course, the most important people of all, our students. Our students are missing out, and it impacts them. We're unable to make changes at the system level, and we can't have an impact. They don't know what they're missing. We have so many unique skills that would benefit the whole school community. We understand physical development, social emotional well-being, ergonomics, universal design. We understand group dynamics and so much more. We specialize in creativity and problem solving, and we can achieve any goal on a shoestring budget. We are the masters at this. Really, OTs and PTs, we have superpowers. Think of all the things that we could do if only we were allowed through. Today, right now, this is the time for change. And I'll tell you why. I have the facts and the data based again on New York, but this is really a national trend. 1/3 of the active teachers retirement system members in New York State are eligible to retire right now or within the next 5 years. So if we think about who becomes administrators, teachers. So if there's going to be a teacher shortage, that means we can expect an administrator shortage for sure. So that means if they were to open the pathway, if they were allow and open the doors for a whole new category of instructional personnel, namely occupational and physical therapy practitioners, to take the coursework to become administrators, that could check off a box and it could maybe fulfill the shortage that is definitely going to be hitting us, especially with the pandemic. People are sick. People are kind of deciding life is too short. They want to retire. And it's having a big impact on the education system for sure. There's also a big societal shift. Culture right now is geared towards parity and equity for everyone. And this means minorities, women, and people with disabilities. The majority of school-based occupational therapists and physical therapists by far are women. And who do we help? People with disabilities. So again, now is the time for change because of all of these things. It's almost like the perfect storm. Just checking to see what you all think about that. People are saying, is Oprah wearing red for Ed? Well, you know what, Vera? Oprah has a red shirt. Jamie Spencer doesn't. Denise remembers the Oprah show. I'm a CODA. I have a second job and I'm always looking to add. Right. So if you want to make more money, you better work harder. It's not that way for teachers. If they want to make more money, they can either sit back and let the cost of living raises and the salary steps impact their salary, or if they really want to, they can be a go-getter and they can get continuing education increments, and that will make them go up even further. They can get their master's plus 30 or their master's plus 60 or their doctorate, and they will have that raise every year for the rest of their life. That's more than a car. In some instances, it might even be 2 cars. It might be a house. I mean, these inconsistencies between the way we're treated would, it's just unbelievable. It's quite eye-opening. Anne Marie Hatcher is saying, if I were younger, that would be a great idea. Anne Marie, what would be a great idea if you were younger? Because even if we're older, we need to take a little action to help the children and to help the OTs that are coming up the road. It's true. Teachers can also be paid to coach or run an after-school club. In my school district, the teachers are able to work at the before and after school program, and they very often work the last 3 years of their job so that they can bump up their salary before they retire. As far as I know, occupational physical therapy practitioners are not allowed to do that. Elle Curley, it was always my dream to be an administrator. Me too, Elle Curley. And I'll tell you that my administrators have been very open to my ideas, and I've run some huge programs and some huge things. I mean, research programs in 26 classes on handwriting pilots in my school. They allow and respect what I do, but I don't get anything but a pat on the back and a thank you. So Lisa Hannafin Gaudet, don't question it. If you're in the teachers union, just be glad, but help us to fight so that we can fight to be in the teachers union too. We all deserve it. So when we talk about equity or parity, we're talking about fairness, being just, having equitableness, balance, a lack of discrimination or bias. And the antonyms are inequity, imbalance, bias, prejudice, partiality. So there is, and I've said it before, there is a stigma of inferiority. We aren't included, we aren't valued, we aren't respected, and it's not okay. This is not equity. All of the other school professionals are able to become leaders if they want to. This furthers their career, their pay, and their ability to have an impact. If they're a person who's a go-getter and they have great ideas and they really want to make a difference, They can. They have an ability to showcase their skills. So we look here at this elevator. All of these school professionals are able to get on that elevator and take the coursework up if they want to advance. OT and PT, slow your roll, stay in your lane. You're not welcome. So let's talk about other discriminatory educational practices that used to be very common. Racial segregation of children in public schools was very common at one point. Isn't that so disturbing nowadays? The thought of that happening today is disgusting. Children with disabilities were not receiving free and appropriate education back in the day. They were staying home or being sent to residences or not being educated at all. Children with disabilities were segregated in different buildings. And there was limited funds, resources, and opportunities for females to play sports or for females to receive comparable educational opportunities. And we need to say that there is still some discriminatory educational practices that need to go. These need to be abolished. State education departments not considering school occupational physical therapists teachers or pedagogical, it's got to go. School OT and PTs being prohibited to take the coursework to become a leader, that needs to go. That needs to be abolished. When we think about the American Occupational Therapy Association's Vision 2025, it talks about being powerful, recognized, science-driven in order to be powerful. But we need a seat at the table in order to be powerful. How can we be powerful if we're not there? We can't have a voice in the meeting if we're not there. So a very wise woman named Shirley Chisholm once said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, you need to bring yourself a folding chair. And this quote really encompasses the vision and the bold behavior of a person who's going to advocate for what they want, what they need, and what they know is right. They're going to advocate for what they deserve and what is equal. Not sure if you're aware, but the American Occupational Therapy Association is completely behind us in this quest. So the grassroots therapists who banded together and have been working to try to change this have been working with AOTA. Back in 2017, an AOTA administrator wrote every state education department in the United States. She wrote about our amazing potential to be school administrators, about how we're administrators in other settings like nursing homes or rehab facilities or hospitals. Why can't we be leaders in a school setting? AOTA urged the state education department to reconsider the structure. And you know what happened? Nothing. As far as I know, not one state education department even responded to our national association. So that says a little something about the way OT is valued and PT is valued, but it doesn't say anything about us. In my group, the USA School-Based OTs Looking for Change, we started a letter writing campaign. In each of the state groups, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, we started more letter writing campaigns. We sent this letter to the state education department. We followed up. We have been sending them letters and letters. Please respond. What is your response? This is unfair. This impacts me in A, B, and C way. This impacts the children in all of these ways. AOTA wrote to them about our mental health skills, how we are skilled in supporting parents. We are skilled in group dynamics and personnel issues. We are skilled in transitions. We have a lot of unique qualifications that would make us amazing leaders. So let's talk about the unique opportunities where we can showcase leadership. What is a leader anyway? It's someone who makes decisions, who keeps data, who has courage. They're able to plan, role model, make decisions, take actions. They're committed, organized, responsible. This sounds like every OT that I know. But in order to become a leader, you have to decide, really, are you going to be an informal leader or a formal leader? In the school system, there are many, many opportunities to be an informal leader. Let's face it, the schools are always looking for volunteers. But many OTs and PTs don't have time. In all honesty, most of us don't even have time to eat lunch. A lot of us don't even go to the bathroom until 3:45 in the afternoon after a crazy, crazy day. So we don't have time to volunteer for committees and things like that. Very often we're racing off to another job after school or to pick up one more child to make a little extra money for our families. What we don't have the opportunity to do is become a formal leader. And when your title or position is one of leadership, you're able to focus on the changes and the decisions that you want to make. Informal leadership is great. You're directing others, you're clear on your vision, and you can influence people socially. You have big personality, and you can volunteer, and you certainly can make a difference. But there's another problem with that. We need to be careful of burnout. I do not want to be another one of those presenters who says to you, we need to do more. We need to give a little extra. I know myself, I don't have any more to give. And so many other therapists feel the same way. There is a solution to it, but we need to look at how it creates a problem first. Administrators need to see our value. And in order to do that, we need to participate in school-wide initiatives. We need to train the staff and the administration in our area of expertise. We need to be a part of the committees and the PTAs, but we don't have any time. So then it comes back to we're not valued because we're not there. We are a hamster on a wheel. But again, there are some solutions. Like I said, I don't want to be one of those speakers who encourages you to do more. You're doing enough. You work hard, but it is a catch-22. How do we show our value without doing more? We have to use what's out there. That's the solution. If any of you guys are Rachel Ray fans, I'm a huge Rachel Ray fan. 30-minute meals, because I'm in a rush, okay? Most of the time, all the time, I'm in a rush. But she always says, if you need one onion for 2 recipes, chop it once. Chop it once, use it twice. Basically, that means reuse what you've got. This means you don't need to recreate things. Ask for what you need from the staff members. Distribute things that are already out there. AOTA has so many fact sheets that are wonderful resources for you to share with staff or parents or school administrators. Give those handouts out at a CSE. I personally love the one where they describe what occupational therapy is in the school setting. I had a parent who kept saying, I only want you to work on handwriting. And I very professionally and kindly refused. The child had so many motor issues and her whole core and gross motor and everything was so impacted. And if I were to ignore my training and do what the mother wanted, I would be doing this child a disservice. But the mother didn't know what OT was. But I don't have time to write that up. I don't have time to make a whole letter just for this one parent. So guess what? Use something that someone else has already made. And again, as an OT blogger, I know I myself have a million resources on my site. So many of them are free. I encourage you to go use those resources. Use that to showcase your value. All you have to do is print and hand out. Or if you don't have a printer or you're not given printing rights at your school, email, especially during OT month. It's a great thing to do to email the teachers that you work with or the parents of a student and just say, hey, I have this handout for some things that you can do with Johnny. Or, oh, hey, Mrs. Smith, I wanted to let you know that AOTA has this information about RTI. If you're interested, we were talking about it the other day. There are ways for us to show our value without burning ourselves out because we do need to watch that. We have to take care of ourselves and value our self-worth and our health and our own families. OTs are healthcare professionals. We're caring, we're giving, we're loving, but we need to start with ourselves and we need to start at home. Things that you can do that require very little effort are sharing social media. There's so many great memes or videos or even Pinterest activities that you can use or you can share to people in your school district or just on your board. Just getting that information out there promotes occupational therapy. If you want to do a little more, Look at the AOTA site or OT practice and take a great article or an idea and show it to your administrators. What if we did this? I've done that many times and it always ends up okay. Sometimes they're going to say no to your idea, and that's fine. That is having a conversation and listening to someone and having them listen back. But just because they said no doesn't mean it's no forever. In my mind, we change it to no, not yet, or no, not right now. So many OTs have said to me that they feel like they're invisible, that they're no one, they're not even a guest. That is not true. It is easy to become frustrated and cynical and burnt out. I've been there myself. But you are not no one. You are a hard worker. You are smart and creative, and you've got fight inside you. You need to turn that anger into action. So I'm going to go to this quote, which I love, and I want you all to take a minute to read it. So I just love this quote. I think that it just kind of says it all, and it's so easy to sit back and to hope that someone does this for you. And there are so many OTs who work in the United States, and most of them, or if not all of them, want parity and equality. But we can't just wait for somebody to do it. We've all got to pitch in, we've all got to help. So many people have said to me, why aren't we allowed in? So it comes down to a decision. We've basically got to decide, are we going to be apathetic or are we going to advocate? The difference between apathy and advocacy is action. If you're not doing anything, if you're not saying anything, then your behavior mimics an apathetic person. There are so many ways to showcase your opinions, your beliefs, and your value as an occupational therapy and physical therapy practitioner. But if you're not doing anything, it looks like you have a lack of concern, you are indifferent, or you're just not motivated, or you just don't care. On the other hand, if you're advocating, you know your rights, you're speaking up for yourself, you know your value and your self worth, you're asking for what you need, asking for what you want. So many therapists have said to me, well, I spent all my money on the kids' pencil grips. I don't even get any money for pencil grips. And I've said within my own school district, have you asked your principal? Because your principal is amazing. But if you've never approached him and asked him for the money because they're a contract therapist and they probably don't even know him, he doesn't know that you need that money. So it is a wonderful opportunity to create that relationship with your administrator, even if you don't work directly for the building. Say good morning, say hello, ask for something easy that they can give you. Present to them a simple problem that they can solve for you, like, would it be possible for me to get a child-size table in my room? Because I'm evaluating children and it's really hard for me to notice their shoulder stability and their posture during fine motor activities when they're at this giant table. So not only are you asking them for something very easy, I'm sure they have a child-size table probably somewhere, maybe not, but hopefully, but you are also educating them about why you need it. You can't just work in the hallway with no materials. You need space to do your job and to do it well. But if you're not taking action, if you're not part of the solution, then you are really part of the problem. Let's talk about how to apply the concepts of advocacy at the local and state level. So, by local, I mean your school, your PTA, your immediate circle of people, your community, and your colleagues. Within your state, that depends on your state OT association, your state social media groups, and things like that. We can start very simply by communicating the need for change. To sit back and just trudge along. And so many of us are doing that right now because we've been through so much in this pandemic. And please believe me, I am not trying to upset anyone or make you feel like you haven't been doing the right thing. Because as I said, you guys are working your tails off and you deserve to be treated equally. But we need to communicate that not just to other OTs, but also to teachers and to the administration. So many of them don't even know that this is going on. So if we think about the ripple effect, we want to be that drip of water. Think about the other major movements of change that have happened, such as like the women's right movement or the abolition of slavery. There were a few people in the beginning who voiced their opinions, and other people may have agreed but were a little frightened to speak up. But slowly and surely, it just became the norm. People began to change their minds. More and more people got on board with this way of thinking. The more that we talk about it, the more that we can spread the ripple. Today, the idea of things like slavery or women not being able to vote is appalling. Someday, the idea of OTs and PTs not being allowed to be leaders will also be very alarming. Let's look at this. People often need to hear ideas many times before they accept them. Start talking about this, tell everybody why it's unfair, how it impacts the children, and how it impacts you. The more people hear it, the more they will get on board and want the change. Here are some ways that you can get involved at a local and state level. I've been encouraging school OTs and PT practitioners to get involved for a really long time. Definitely, if you have time, communicate with your state and local associations and leaders, your school boards, your PTAs, and your SEPTAs, your special ed PTAs. So if you feel like you are not enough a part of the community where you work, then get involved and be a part of the community where you live. For me, I work in a different county where I live, but where I live, it's the same situation in terms of how the occupational therapists are employed. So I can go to my school district and say, why aren't there therapists? Why isn't there employees? Why are there no trainings for the kindergarten parents about motor skills? I want to know about this kind of stuff. Or better yet, if that's not available, I'll do the training. And again, I'm not asking you guys to do more than you can. I know that we are all burning the candle at both ends just to make ends meet and to try to stay healthy and not burn out. But if there's some presentation that you have somewhere from wherever 100 years ago, dust it off and take an hour out and see if it would be worth it to present. I'll bet you'll really meet a lot of people who want this information and who just didn't know and who will benefit. If you don't have time for things like that, you can email someone. Email your state OT legislative chair or email your representative assembly from AOTA for your state. Communicate the concerns that you have to your OT state board. I remember when I first approached the New York State Occupational Therapy Association, and I have a blog post coming out about this soon about my story. I requested a meeting and I asked them to change this, and I was so young and naive and so green. And I just thought that if I had this meeting that they could, magically change this and flip a switch. And of course, they shut me down quite quickly. But the legislative chair of the New York State OT Association said to me, this isn't really an issue in New York. No, I never hear about this. Wow. You never hear about this? Okay. Now I know what my mission is because I know a million people who are complaining about it. But guess what? If we're not complaining to the right people or if we're not complaining out loud, and I don't even want to say complaining, I want to say advocating because advocating is positive. It's taking action. Just being cynical or sarcastic or complaining, it doesn't help. Nobody wants to hear it. What are our solutions to the problem? We need to tell them about the problem that they don't even know they have. Communicate your concerns to your state legislator, your OT board, your governor, anything like that. If you're not sure who they are, I want to encourage you to join my Facebook group, the USA School OTs Looking for Change. I started this group years ago, and then we were just really working towards OTs at that time, but now we're including physical therapy practitioners as well. So if you can go to Facebook and join the United States School-Based OTs and PTs Looking for Change Facebook group, we are going to be having more and more advocacy information in there for you. And there is information in the files about who you can contact. And a letter really can make a difference. Think about Shawshank Redemption when he decided he was going to write letters for books in the library. And, the head guy at the jail was like, I guess if you want to waste your time. and he wrote a letter a week. And guess what? He ended up getting what he needed. So if you don't have the time to write the letter, or again, you're not sure who to write it to, in my group, the USA School-Based OTs Looking for Change, we have the letter there for you that you can simply open up and fill in your name and where you're from, and that's it. But it is important that we continue to contact these people, these decision makers, and let them know that there are people who want change and why this change would be good for them. So I know this might seem like an enormous, enormous task, but if we do it together, we can get it done. All of those other movements that I spoke about happened. All of those laws that were discriminatory have changed, and we can change this too. And as I said, now is the time. So it would take a long time to move a mountain, but if everybody grabs a rock, then we can move forward and get started, and we can move it so much faster. So I'm asking tonight for your help with this. I hope that you'll start advocating. You'll make the decision to advocate instead of be apathetic and take action. I want to just remind you to get your free CEUs tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And again, thank you so much to NYSOTA for waiving the fee for this continuing education credential so that I could provide this to all of you guys for free. Denise Shaver saying, thank you. I want to thank all of you all for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Tara, how do you get your state to establish caseload numbers? Well, there are some states who have developed the caseload work versus workload model. There is an awesome, awesome article by Francine Soroya and Mindy Garfinkel in AJOT. It just came out about caseload versus workload. And I think that they even have a tool on their website that you could use to start figuring this out and researching it and advocating for yourself, because that is important. Anne Marie Hatcher, retired now and working part-time. It's been a hard road. It would have been wonderful to have an OT in administrative position a long time ago. Yes, absolutely. But you know what? We can't focus on the past. We've got to focus on what we can do now. And there is a lot that we can do, especially with the power of social media. It is so easy to just push a button and share some information. So you guys can share my cartoons. They're all over my Miss Jamie OT website. They're all over my Miss Jamie OT Facebook page. And they're certainly in this free webinar group. Share these pictures and explain to people that you are not treated equally, and that if you were a leader, you would do this or you would do that. If you were able to be a leader, maybe the children would be sitting at furniture that fits them. Maybe the kids wouldn't be, working on a curriculum that's so above their developmental level. If you were the school administrator, maybe that wouldn't be happening. Facebook user, I will advocate. I just joined your Facebook group. Thank you. Yay. I wish I knew your name, but I will soon once you are in the group. That's great. This is the name of the group. I do believe that here's the link. Facebook groups, USA School-Based OTs Looking for Change. Lisa, every year I send out a graphomotor OT or fine motor development kit. I also do this at not back to school night, but kindergarten orientation. And again, these are things that you guys, I know you don't have time. I know you can't create something new. That's okay. Print it out from our sites. There's way more sites than just mine. I'm not familiar with what all the other bloggers have, but I know on my site there's a ton of free resources, and I have even more coming. So stay with me. I'm burning the candle at both ends too. I'm, a full-time school-based OT, and I have this business on the side, and I have a 1-year-old and a husband and all that other stuff. But this is so important, and we're going to get this done, you guys. And I look at all these people who are saying they're going to join and they're going to advocate. I love it. I'm so excited. Donna Meyer is saying, love the quote. I'm not sure which quote you're talking about, Donna. So I just want to see if anyone has questions for me. And again, I want to reiterate, this webinar will be available for a year. So please get your OT and PT colleagues. This is a wonderful way to advocate. by spreading the knowledge. And who doesn't want free CEUs? Everybody. So this is a great way to do your buddies a favor while spreading the information and be the ripple effect, be the change. This can make a difference. And you know what? Our OTs and PTs have been through so much. They deserve some free CEUs. Money is tight, right? Patricia Haran, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much, Krista Lochner. I follow your blog and use your printables. I hope so. I really do have a lot of free printables on my site. I'm actually working with my assistant, Kim Dean Davis. We're redoing my website. So I haven't been awesome about putting new things on my current website because I can't manage working on two websites at once. However, there's some great stuff coming your way. And whatever is out on the Miss Jamie OT site right now is still really valuable. There's a lot of good stuff that you can give out for OT month. Lisa Gabriel. Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you. That's very sweet. I am inspired. So I hope so much to inspire you and to inspire all of you guys to advocate. No, Elle Curley, you are not the only one. We are in this together. I love this right here. Angelina says, we advocate for our clients so often, but not enough for ourselves. And we need to. In order to keep our teacup full, we need to take care of ourselves, and advocate for ourselves is a great way to do that. That's my assistant, my wonderful, wonderful assistant. Thank you. How do you get the CEUs? The button in the email isn't clickable? Man, I check everything. I swear. I don't know why that is not working, but here is where you can get it. MissJamieOT.com/free CEU. Make sure you're not adding an S, and make sure you spell Jamie correctly. That's a big issue most of the time. So I just want to ask if you all have questions. I'm putting this slide up here, and I'm going to just go through my references in case anyone wants to see them. Again, this webinar will be available for an entire year. So if you want to view it again, if you want to host a watch party, yeah. If you guys want to host a watch party, that would be an awesome way to advocate. Again, OTs and PTs are the best problem solvers. Absolutely, Denise. And you know what? We can solve the problem on a budget because, I mean, what can't we make from a paperclip and a pool noodle? Am I right? I mean, we can get this done. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money. One thing I wanted to also add is to, if you don't have the time, and I know, again, so many of you guys don't have the time. We're all nuts working, how many jobs and trying to take care of our families, and we just want to feel secure, and we just want to feel stable, for our families and for ourselves. And if you don't have the time to do the email or send the letter or do the presentation or whatever, one thing that you can do if you have the money, and of course money is tight, but you can always donate to your state association's political action committee. That is a wonderful way to help, because as much as I say we can do everything on a budget, things do cost money, and the state legislators need to go to these meetings and these fundraisers and these dinners in order to meet the people that they need to hobnob with, to teach them about what we do and about why we need to be treated more equally. Rachel Silverman, feeling much more hopeful. I'm on Long Island and happy to help locally in any way. Awesome. I'm in Long Island too. Amanda, did I advocate to get directly hired through my school district, or did I come across a posting? I actually got extremely lucky. I was a contractor for 2 years, and I decided this was not for me, because I realized that I was a hamster on a wheel, and that all of my friends were going up the escalator and making more money and going up the ladder towards more, and that I was just working more. I was picking up more students, and I just said, I'm done being a contractor. But it is very hard to get district jobs on Long Island. So I just went nuts one day, and I sent my resume and a cover letter to a ton of school districts, and they weren't, so most of them, weren't hiring, and most of them didn't answer me, but there was one school district, and they had been talking about hiring an OT. And so I just got very lucky that I got the interview and I was on the civil service list and they hired me. And I'm very grateful, because as much as I complain and I'm leading this movement, I know that I have it better than so many other people. And I am very grateful for that. Yeah, Amanda, I didn't want to be a contractor anymore either. It's a lot of work. God bless all of you contractors and your car and all of the stuff that's in the back of your car. Do you need a Google account to access the evaluation? I'm not positive about that, actually. You might. Kim Dean Davis, do you know the answer to this? Do they need a Google account? Beth, if you do need a Google account and your daughters, oh, you borrowed your daughters, that's fine. As long as you put your name, then it's your name that will come up in the certificate. Okay. Just make sure you don't put your daughter's name. Thank you. You've presented great ideas for advocacy. Thank you so much. Oh, Kim Dean Davis is saying that yes, you do need a Google account. Okay, I don't really see any more questions coming in. I want to tell you all so much again how grateful I am for you all for being here and for all the people that you're going to share this with. I'm really grateful. Remember again that if you don't get your certificate right away, it's coming. Google has a thing where they'll only send out 100 at a time, so it might be a little bit of a wait. If you have issues in, like, let's say in 2 days you don't get it, don't forget to check your spam and your email, and then you can email customer service at missjamie.com. I'm just going to type it out right here. Okay. So don't forget to check your spam. Don't forget to check your junk mail. Hopefully, Miss Jamie OT doesn't go to your junk. If I do, then hopefully you'll add me to your contacts so I can send you some great stuff that you can use to showcase the value of occupational therapy. I did that already. Okay, everybody. I'm going to sign off. I just want to say again, thank you so much. Oh, one more question. On the evaluation, it says the last question about why now is the perfect time to advocate is not both a societal push for parity and teachers retiring. Why isn't this correct? That is correct, Teresa. Uh-oh. If that's not coming up as correct, I will fix it this minute. So on that note, I'm going to log off so that you all can. Yeah, so Tara is just saying she just submitted it, but it's not accepting. It's okay. It will go through. It just will only do 100 at a time. So people must have the chat comments are all going to be in this group, in the Miss Jamie OT free webinars group. Lauren Rapucci, do you have any recommended resources regarding the admin path in Massachusetts? So there is, Massachusetts does have some pathway to leadership. And I know you have some real bigwigs in your state, like Jan Hollenbeck, and there's a man who posts all the time about the push for the doctorate and the ACOTE. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. But if you join the USA School-Based OTs Looking for Change group, or if you go to my Miss Jamie OT site, I do have USA information, and then the different state groups are listed there. So I don't think we do have a Massachusetts list because I need an administrator to start it. If you're interested in doing that, then definitely let me know, okay? Okay, I'm gonna log off because it sounds like something's happening with the quiz. So let me just check that. Okay. Bye, everybody.